Judy your telephone while we go back over to the kitchen with Stephanie Paganini and her next guest.
This is good.
So I want to introduce to you someone that works at our school. This is Will Davis. He's the sous chef of our restaurant, Sapore Restaurant. Thank you for coming, Will.
Glad to be here.
I want to brag a little bit about you, Will, because Will is actually a local boy. He's from West Geauga grad, right, from Chesterland, Ohio.
Right.
We grew up a few miles away from each other. You traveled the country,
Yes.
exploring food, learning. You went to culinary school, and then you came back home.
Correct.
And we're lucky enough to have you working not only at our school, you work in the heart of our kitchen, in our prep kitchen, but you also are the sous chef at our restaurant, where many of our students can do their externship. How's that for you?
Oh, I love it. It's a lot of fun. I actually get to work hand in hand with Loretta on a daily basis, so we get to work back and forth. I'm doing a lot of Italian cuisine, fresh pastas. I mean, I really enjoy it, and the best part is kind of helping them learn what to do to become chefs, how to change their techniques, make themselves better, and be able to work in a fully functional kitchen environment.
Wonderful. Now, I know people have a tendency to go and open up a can to make soup, but soup is great no matter what season it is, and you've brought a great soup for us. Talk to us.
All right, well, today I'm going to be doing a butternut squash soup. Something very simple. I want to do something weird, like a little bit of fall, but a lot of the ingredients that we're working with have a lot of fall needs that you're actually looking for health-wise by what you're working with. So first we're going to start out, we have
Step a little bit for you.
as the butter is just starting to melt in the pan, you can just add the onions in there. What we're looking to do with the onions is to start sweating them. And what that's going to do is start to bring out more of the natural flavors from the onions. So you're trying to draw out as much moisture, flavor, things of that nature. So again, make a more tasty soup.
Now, do you have an onion that you prefer over any others?
Not necessarily. It always depends on the soup. A lot of times I go with a white or a yellow onion just because it's very, very neutral in flavor. Very, again, cost-effective to be working with. And again, it's not going to change the color of the soup that I'm working with.
Okay.
So I like that. Now, the two spices that I usually use is salt and, especially in soups, white pepper. So what I do is just season a little bit as I go along, putting a little bit of the salt, just a little bit of the white pepper, and I choose white pepper as opposed to a black pepper in a soup like this because I really don't want to change the color of the soup. I want it to be a nice brown, or not, I'm sorry, nice orange soup without any black flecks in it, because if you see black flecks in it, someone might think you burned something as you were going along.
Now, I know people always get nervous about salt in recipes, right? Maybe some people are going for a low sodium.
Correct.
Talk to me about the difference of making your fresh soup and putting a little dash of salt versus maybe a can of soup that has hundreds and hundreds of milligrams.
Right, when you're making a fresh soup, you obviously have the opportunity to control the sodium level that you're looking for. And one of the reasons, again, starting to go out a little bit is I'm putting depth of flavor and putting the salt in the beginning so it's going to be expanded throughout the soup. When you're buying something at the grocery store, it's going to have thousands of milligrams of sodium, basically because the idea is they need a preservative in there in order to keep it fresh and be able to sit on the shelf for days, weeks, months, whatever it might be. And as we got the onions slowly going as well, we can also add a little bit of garlic in there.
Okay.
About 4 cloves of minced garlic that we have going into our recipe. And again, some of the things I want to mention that the ingredients that we're using is there's some health benefits to it. Where onions as well as garlic have a lot of anti-carcinogenic as well as antibiotic properties for you. So when you're thinking soup, a lot of people think, oh, soup is good when you're sick, it's good when it's cold out. A lot of that reason comes from the ingredients that you're using in your soup.
Wow.
So it's going to help make it just a little bit
like
tastier.
garlic.
Yes.
But not so much that nobody wants to be around you, right?
Right. Just enough to have a subtle flavor, but not enough to kill vampires.
Great. So we're sauteing our onions, our garlic, butter, we have salt, we have white pepper in here, and then what?
All right. So once we get a nice little saute in there, again, getting out a little bit of that onion flavor.
Sure.
What we're going to start doing is we have a butternut squash that we're going to add to the soup.
Okay.
So a lot of times you go to the store, you buy the butternut squash. It's huge. It's
a little intimidating, isn't it?
Intimidating. It's hard as a rock.
Right.
You're like, what do I do with something of this nature?
Sure.
And basically all it is like a potato. Very similar. You can just take this, put it in the oven, roast it for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then the skin peels off. There's seeds on there in the inside. It's basically like having a pumpkin. Similar idea. The squashes are all the same idea.
This is a great concept. Well, you're telling me that I don't have to try and struggle with a knife and this hard vegetable to break it up to roast it. I can roast it whole right in my oven.
You can roast it whole in the oven if you'd like. If you cut it in half, you're gonna cut the roasting time basically in half.
Sure.
You may want to put a couple fork holes in there just to help
Get
vent
some
the
aggression
steam.
out.
Get aggression
Put
out.
psycho on it.
Exactly. Help it little steam a little bit.
Okay.
And get a little, but again, it's something that's very simple, very nice to be able to do.
Wonderful.
And the smell is good, so if you want to warm up your kitchen, have a nice smell going in the house, and just have something to do, just put it in the oven,
Okay.
let it sit around for a little
So
while.
magic of television, we've taken that, we've roasted it. How did we get to the stage that you have in front of you?
So once it came out of the oven, I just peeled the skin right off of it, and it should be basically, it's like a mashed potato or a baked potato. It's already going to be mushy on the inside, so I just kind of saved out the inside. And then once you save it, a lot of the liquid, you'll see there's a little bit of liquid in there as well. And that just leaches out of there naturally, but that's very good. It's a lot of flavor for the soup that you're putting in there, a lot of extra juice.
Great.
So we're going to add our butternut squash.
Beautiful. Now, does this soup freeze? So could I make this and keep some?
Absolutely. This soup would definitely freeze pretty well. Once it gets going, if you're going to freeze the soup, I recommend not putting in the cream that we're going to put in later.
Okay.
Freeze it and then add the cream to it a little bit later. Because milk has a tendency, I mean, ice cream freezes very well, but the milk will have a tendency to break when you reheat it.
Sure.
So freeze the base soup and then you just add the cream, make it creamier.
Nice and fresh at the end.
Yep.
Beautiful.
So again, we have the butternut squash soup in there.
Okay.
Or butternut squash in there. We're going to add a little bit more salt.
Sure. And we have about
Touch
2.5 minutes left, so tell me what we would do to finish this off.
Finish this off. Basically, we're going to add, we have dried ginger that we're going to be adding in there.
Dried ginger.
We're going to add some dried nutmeg.
Okay. Ooh, nutmeg's another great flavor, right? That has a lot of natural benefits.
A lot of natural benefits, and then as well as cinnamon. I save a little bit of the cinnamon so I can have a nice little garnish on the top of my soup, make it a little fun. Then I use brown sugar.
Okay.
I like using brown sugar only because it has a little bit different flavor than a white sugar. A little bit of molasses in there, gives a nice little more depth of flavor in there. But again, we have the ginger. Again, we're thinking fall right now. You're thinking, what is a different benefit than a summer type of soup, which is usually cooler. Now we have butternut squash is an orange vegetable. A lot of times when you think of the season of fall, you think of carrots, root vegetables, pumpkins, other squashes. And a lot of the orange comes from beta-carotene.
Wonderful.
So that's beta-carotene, which is a lot of vitamin A and a lot of vitamin D, which fall, you actually have less sunshine, so you need more vitamin A, vitamin D, despite the fact of no sun.
Now you have a fun chef tool, right? An immersion blender.
An immersion blender, which is awesome.
If someone doesn't have this, they can certainly put it into their blender or into a Cuisinart.
Right, Cuisinart, food processor, whatever you might have at home. I like the idea of a stick blender, especially when we're going to be doing this soup as hot. You could actually cool this soup down, puree it as a cool soup, and just heat it up to order as you need it. But if you do it this way, that way...
We have a minute left. Let's see how fast you can do, Chef.
All right, well, we have pre-boiling water that we're going to add in here. 6 cups.
And if you didn't want to use water, you could use vegetable stock, you could use chicken stock, right?
Yeah, vegetable stock, chicken stock. Again, I always say I prefer earth stock or water, just because of the sheer fact that it's always readily available to me.
Sure.
You can see with the stick blender, it goes very well. At this point, too, you want to add just a little bit more salt. Touch more white pepper.
Okay.
Now, if you were obviously using chicken stock out of a can or vegetable stock that you might buy at the grocery store, you want to keep an eye on its sodium content as we had talked about before.
Sure.
So we have pureed the soup smooth. It's going to puree very fast with the onions being fully cooked, ready to go. And at this point, we're going to add our heavy cream in there.
Okay. Now, if I was watching my figure, could I put something other than heavy cream in there?
You technically could. If you're trying to actually stay away from any fats, you could probably just leave it as a pureed soup.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily need the cream in there. I like the cream. It smooths out the flavor. It gets this, kind of smooths out all the ingredients that you have going on in there.
Wonderful.
And there we are.
That's so pretty. Well, so, Will, tell me about some of the dishes that you serve up at the restaurant.
At Sephora, we do change the menu probably almost every 2 months there. Very Italian-influenced dishes that we do. A lot of it's fresh pastas. Everything's handmade there at the school. And then we also do just, again, a lot of seasonal type of things, whether it's fall that we're working on. We do a lot of pumpkin. We've got tiramisu, using a lot of coffee this time of year. We have prefixed menus.
Ah, that's so beautiful. I'm going to put one here so everyone can see it. And this is your butternut squash soup with the cinnamon and the nutmeg in there. Oh, that's so great. And you said you can freeze it, just hold the cream back.
Hold the cream back if you're going to freeze it.
What would you
Absolutely.
serve alongside this? Could you serve it just as itself?
Maybe like a nice, good, hearty, crusty bread, like a French baguette would be really good, or like a nice Italian bread, depending on what you do.
Wonderful. So if people want to see you, they can come to Sephora Restaurant on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights.
Correct.
And there's an open kitchen. They can actually come in and chit-chat with you, yeah?
Yeah, they come in, they'll wave to me when they come in the kitchen, and I love to talk to them, show them what I'm doing, and watch them plate my entree at the same time.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming, Will.
Thank you for
I
having
know
me,
you're
Stephanie.
busy. We'll send you that.
Thank you very much.
I love soup.
I know you do. You get it for lunch all the time.
I do. And there's a
Even in the summertime, you get soup.
and there's a restaurant across the street from the Idea Center here where we are in Playhouse Square that we always say, I wonder if they have the butternut squash soup today.
That's true.
Now you know how to make it. You know, we've had these tips come in. Well, here comes Will. So we'll let Will
Okay.
kind of sneak in here first.
Here we are.
It smells so good.
Right.
Hot Will, is it?
Little hot.
Little hot, little hot. Oh, can you reach? You got it?
First.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
absolutely.
It's
There you
so beautiful.
Will, thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
being here.
much.
Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Glad to be a part of this.
Thank
and,
you.
Again, continued luck to WVIZ. I love the shows. Creates my favorite channel. So
Great.
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome.
Thank you. And Create, in case you don't know, is one of our digital channels that has all how-to programming on a lot of cooking shows, a lot of travel, a lot of. It's if you can get it, you should try it because it's really a great station.
Yeah, if you have a digital tuner, you can get all those channels, and many of the cable operators have them also. So there's WVIZ High Definition, which is what maybe you're watching on WVIZ Regular, which is analog if you're watching on a regular screen like we all used to have. And there's WVIZ Create, there's WVIZ World, which is science and nature and public affairs kind of documentary. There's the Ohio channel,
Right.
which gives you it's kind of like the C-SPAN for Ohio.
It is,
What's
it
going
is.
on in Ohio with shows also from local radio and television
So it
stations.
ain't just the old
Nope,
WVIZ
it sure isn't.
anymore.
Is it too hot? You know how
well, I don't
I'm
know.
a baby with
I
heat.
don't know. Let me try it.
I can handle it.
Oh my
Really?
goodness! Oh my goodness! This is so good.
It is indeed.
Those flavors. As a matter of fact, Lisa, who was producing this show for us, said, "You know, I wish they could smell this studio at home because the garlic and the onions and the spices that are being used are just so aromatic, and you will love it."
You
Isn't
know,
it
this
good?
is another one of those recipes that when we go across the
try it
street to the restaurant, you have a sense it's more complicated than it is. Not that complicated. And one of the amazing things is all the tips and techniques that we're getting today. If you remember the last segment we had, it was about the bottom of red and green and yellow and orange peppers. The more bumps on the bottom, the sweeter the pepper will be.
Right.
This one, we love squash in our house. Barbara roasts butternut squash all the time. But when we're doing something like this, we sometimes will cut and peel
it, right.
as opposed to putting it in the oven first. Bake it for a while, and the skin will fall right off, and you
I
can
know.
cook it that
Who
way.
knew? I never thought, and it's such a simple little tip.
Right.
You just don't think about it. This is one of the recipes that you'll receive in this brand new WVIZ PBS cookbook. L is for Luscious Learning.
Let's talk about some of the
We'll
book, I'm
have
sorry.
it's about 160 different recipes, more than 160s. And in addition to this butternut squash soup that Will provided, there's a quinoa, I'm sorry, I was going to say that wrong. Quinoa salad, pesto pasta, Thai rice salad,
Sounds
beef
good.
barley soup.
Another soup.
One you
Yeah.
love.
Yep.
That my neighbor makes a beef barley soup that's good, but I'll bet you this one's even better.
Here's a stuffed lasagna, which is interesting.
Ooh, that sounds really
it's,
good.
It's just a little bit different way to make it. You make it in rolls. You
Ooh, that's
roll
a
it
good
up in the
idea.
pasta shell, in the lasagna shell. Also marinara sauce to put
Lasagna
over
noodle.
that.
It's not a shell.
That's right, no lasagna noodle. Right. Absolutely.
Things I have to tell you.
we
I'll
have.
tell you.
Here's something. Fajitas.
Fajitas.
Oh, fajitas.
Fajitas.
And black beans and rosemary chicken, roasted vegetable and potato stuffing.
So there's all sorts of different recipes in Ellis for Luscious Learning. Whether you want to make soup or you want to make stuffed grapes, or we've had them all so far, and
Or-
we're only a little ways into
Or
it.
if you need a cookie, a little macaroon, because there's macaroons in here also. $60 will bring you the book. Ellis for Luscious Learning. Head to your telephone.
Oh, he's walking over the phone operators, and I was just taking a bite of soup. I guess the bite of soup it's not a bite of soup, a slurp of soup, whatever kind of, a spoonful of soup, that's it, like a spoonful of sugar Whatever you would like is in this Ellis for Luscious Learning Cookbook. It's being made by graduates of a National Culinary Arts and Sciences Institute that's part of the Paganini School. All of these people are graduates and are professionally cooking right now and have shared the recipes that work for them. And so now is your opportunity to get all these recipes, more than 160 of them. And we hope that you'll call in and show your support for WVIZ PBS right now. The number's on your screen. Kent?
I'm back here at the telephone.